Hey everyone, so my name's Megan, as you can see if I just lean back. And I just want to apologize in advance if this video is a bit rambly, because it very well could be, but there's a lot of things that have been sort of on my mind, and for me the best way to get them out is to just get them out. And I've been off and on trying to write blog posts because I do actually have a blog, which you can find in the link below, but it wasn't working. It wasn't coming out the way I wanted to. It felt fake. It felt inauthentic to me. And there's a lot of things that I feel like I can communicate better from the heart if I just speak, because it's there. It's like boiling over to get out. So there are going to be a lot of those things in this video. So honestly, feel free to skip around because that's how my brain actually works. So hopefully you get some value out of it, but mostly this is just for me, just sort of mind dump, and on the off chance that someone else can relate to it, that's awesome. So as you probably saw from the title, what I wanted to talk about today is just some things that I've learned from being in quarantine. There's a lot that's new, obviously, and I think we're in a very unique situation in the fact that we are going through a situation globally that is new for all of us. And I've seen some incredible things come out of that. And I want to preface everything else that I say, which I probably should have done from the very beginning, with the statement that I am coming from a very privileged perspective and standpoint, I think. I live here in Prague, as I mentioned, but in general, my life has not been that negatively affected, and I want to be very upfront with that because I am so aware that that is not the case for a lot of people right now in America, before that in Italy, in China, in Spain, and still currently in those places. I am so aware that I am doing really okay compared to a lot of people in the world. And I think that, we can only sort of speak to the perspectives that we have experienced, speak to our own life experiences, the things that we are familiar with. And this is the version of reality that I'm familiar with. And so that's what I'm going to speak to. My heart goes out to all those people who have it way worse than me, who are either going out every day and helping to fight this crazy thing, or who are in some capacity essential jobs and all of a sudden finding themselves, well, often not very well paid, essential. And now you don't get a break, you don't get to go home. And that's honestly super shit, I think. I think it's terrible, but I want you guys to remember that for when this ends and comes back around. Remember that you were the essential people. We deemed you essential, and stand up for your rights in association with that in terms of compensation, rest, time off, all of that. You deserve it, so go fight for it, please. But yeah, back to my own perspective. So some of the biggest things that I have learned through this quarantine have been incredibly unexpected. My initial reaction and how I sort of found out about this was basically, I was at work one day, and I am an English teacher here, and I work at a couple different language schools, one of which is a preschool. And I was at preschool, and we knew about coronavirus. It was sort of creeping closer to us. We heard about some cases in Italy. I think we talked about a couple in Austria, but it wasn't really a huge deal for us at this point, just to give some context for what was going on. And I got this phone call, but I'm at preschool, so I don't take phone calls unless it's like something crazy serious, obviously. From my other boss, I kind of just silenced it, and then she texted me and said, all schools are canceled indefinitely. And I was like, what? But like, that's half my income. Like, I was aware in the situation, like, obviously this isn't your decision, but like, what? Like, I literally for a second just couldn't even conceptualize that A, that could be a thing, and that B, now I just lost half my income in a second, and what am I going to do? And I'm not going to really get into that too much, like what I did with that, I guess, or maybe it'll come up throughout. I'm fine now, as I said, like I've been able to figure it out and everything, but I just wanted to give some context for, ABC happened, and then this is where this mind dump came from. So initially it gave me a lot of time to, well, it didn't seem like it, but some time to figure out like, what the hell am I going to do now? And then also once I sort of adapted to that, that's where a lot of these learnings came from. So things happened pretty quickly in the Czech Republic in terms of the government really being on top of things, shutting things down. It was pretty much from the day that they closed schools, every single day was a new set of regulations, and we're like, what is going on? And from my experience, I will say initially, I didn't really think it was necessary. I was like, why are you closing the school? That's crazy. But I realized, and I know a lot of other people realized pretty quickly, like this was a really good decision, and it probably changed the course of how this is run for us. But something that I really wanted to address, because I've seen, obviously, I think a lot of us have been more on social media, more in the news since all of this has happened, and something that I've seen a lot is people just being like, I'm doing this, and like, I don't know if that's the appropriate response. Like, literally the day that they closed the schools, I thought, okay, I live by a pretty large grocery store. I should go there because I don't really keep things around the house, like extra food and vitamins and like, I don't have a pantry, you know, like I am not like the paragon of like really well prepared adults. So I was like, okay, they closed schools, they're probably going to close grocery stores. I should just go buy some stuff. And I am not making this up. When I was in the grocery store, I was like, I mean, I had an idea of like some things I should maybe buy, but I was also like, I guess I'll get these frozen pizzas and like some chocolate. Like, I have no idea. I've never prepared for a pandemic or even anything close, or like even just thought I had enough to buy things for when I might be sick. Like, never. I am not, like, I prepare very well in some areas, but this is an area of my life that was just like, it's fine. I live in a modern day society. I can go to the store. I can do all these things, which I did do while I was sick sometimes, like previously, pre-coronavirus, like just having a cold. I'm like, oh, now I've got to go to the store and like, you know, go to the pharmacy and do all this stuff. And then also do it in a foreign language because I decided to move out of America. And like, it's honestly like really annoying. So, but when I was in the grocery store, back to my example here, I literally heard a Czech girl on the phone saying in Czech, like, yeah, I'm here, but like, I don't know what I should even be buying. Like, what am I doing? And she was like looking around. And honestly, I only bring this up not to laugh at her at all, but like to be so relatable to that, because I was like, me and you both, girl, like I have no idea what I'm doing. And I noticed that like people were literally looking around, like, and this is beginning stages, right? This is like right when they closed the schools in Prague. So about a month ago, this is beginning of March, maybe second week of March, I think, like 11th, 13th, something like that. Days aren't real anymore. Time hasn't become real, or time hasn't been real rather for me for a long time, and probably for most of you. But I remember we were all looking around each other's baskets like, oh, what are you getting? Like, should I get something? Like, and like, that's, I feel like been the theme of this. Some people are like creating new businesses. Some people are lounging around in yoga pants. Some people have eaten 5 tubs of ice cream in a weekend. Like, I don't know, I'm just making that up, but like probably because I know I've ordered baked goods like 5 times straight up, like once a week. I have like a weekly baked goods order. And like, I don't really eat carbs, so like that's how I'm handling, you know, like, a muffin, I don't know, help me feel better. So in that regard, I just wanted to say, like, whatever it is that you're doing is okay. None of us know what's going on. None of us were prepared for this. Or I mean, I guess I shouldn't say none of us. Maybe some of you were really prepared for it and you're a rock star. I was not. And it came closer, it like came to my country, my city, I guess, much sooner and in a way that I wasn't expecting. I was like, isn't this like some other country's problem? You know, just like, and I've forgiven myself for that, but I do think that we should acknowledge that. That could be like a whole separate video of, you know, being aware of our privilege and being aware that other people and other human lives, other issues matter, even if they don't directly affect us. And we shouldn't wait for the time that they do come and directly affect us for them to matter. And that's something that I've been unpacking, and maybe we could all do as well. And also, like, something that I've seen a lot is very extreme emotions, very extreme reactions, which I had to dive into a little bit to figure out like where that's really coming from. And the more I thought about it and the more I listened to podcasts on it, like read blogs, like really just like had it in the back of my mind. And then these things like came into my life that helped me unpack it, if you will. And it's like in general, I think that we all get very attached. Not that it's a bad thing. It's a natural thing, I think. We get very attached. Okay, well, I do think it's a bad thing, but not that it's like a conscious thing, I should say. I don't think that we are usually consciously like, oh, this is my reality. Nothing else matters. La, 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 la. Like Megan's reality is the only thing important. No, I don't think we do that. I think what happens is we have lived our lives. We've had our life experiences. We have the inputs that we have, and by that I mean we're reading certain books, watching the news or not watching the news. It's a choice, right? We are choosing the content that comes into our life, the conversations that we're having with our friends and family and whatever, and the shows that we're watching or not watching, or are we exercising, are we not? Like every single choice that we make shapes our reality and shapes the inputs that we're having, and thus, and because of our already inherent beliefs and the beliefs that we've learned and taught ourselves in XYZ, all of that creates our reality and our life experience. And to that effect, I will say, and somebody said this to me, I'm not taking credit for these words at all. Someone literally said this to me, and I was like, whoa, in a positive way. I don't know if that was I have a very expressive face, and I'm like not aware of what it does sometimes. But I was talking about this, and this was a conversation I was having with someone from a different country than me, who also lives in Prague, but I said something and then realized as I was saying it that it maybe came out as offensive, but it was just, I was trying to relate my own life experience and say like, this is how the world looks from my very limited, but very like feels real to me viewpoint. And then I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And he interrupted me and he literally said, your reality is just as valid as my reality. And I was like, oh my God, everyone needs to know that and to be on the same page with it. Like, absolutely. Because it's true. And I think that we forget that a lot of times. And that's where these conflicts arise when, like, let's say coronavirus, for example. So I don't want to get into the politics or the science or anything of this, but let's say, for example, you are someone who, based on the research you've done, the learnings you've had, whatever, you don't want to go outside right now. You don't want to go to shops. You don't want to do anything. You want to order everything online, have it shipped to your house. And even still, like, you're a little bit worried about that because it's still people transporting it, people coming to you, but you feel the safest doing those things. And then you see someone who's hanging out with their friends in large groups and who's traveling around as much as they can. And you're like, what are you doing, you psychopath? And like that emotion is real and valid, and it comes from your own experience and perspectives of like, I believe that XYZ things are the safest possible things and best things we can be doing right now. And you're looking at that situation of either your friend or just a random person, whoever you see on social media, online, whatever. And you're looking at that and you're saying, that person is insane because, and this is where the disconnect happens, because we assume that they have all the same information, all the same beliefs, knowledge, life experiences, mindset, everything, and are still doing the things that they're doing. And that is almost never the case, I think. Like that person is doing what they're doing based on their life experiences and their perspective and everything. I've definitely seen a lot of like the positive side of that, of like people really recognizing and being kinder and being more compassionate and empathetic, but just remember that. And it is hard, and I think emotions are really heightened right now because we're all a little bit scared, even if we don't want to be. Like, I almost had a stress-induced seizure the last time I went to the store. Okay, like not the very last time, but like the last time I went to a store in like a public area. Like I have some small shops near my house, and I like look and I'm like, okay, no one's really in there. I can pop in really quick. And I'm again trying to just only go like order things online, only go like if I absolutely need something that I can't find online or that it's not working or whatever. But the last time that I went into a shop, and it was just like, okay, it's fine. I've been home. Everyone's been home. We've been, learning about stuff and trying to figure out the safest way to do things. And I went into a shop that had really small aisles and no one was keeping a distance. And I almost literally stressed myself out into the point of having a seizure, which I've had multiple times in the past. That's why I say it, because I know for a fact that that was the road it was going down, and it was terrifying. And I was like, I didn't even know that I was afraid of this. Like, I thought that was fine, there was something like deep in there that was like, this is scary, and I did not acknowledge it at all, and then was in that situation. And then my stress brain was like, hey, what if you had a stress seizure and then went to the hospital? Because for some context, both times I've had seizures, I ended up in the emergency room because I had fallen like directly onto my head and split my head open, had to get staples, really gross. But if you want to talk about that sometime, hit me with a message. It's an interesting story, I think, but obviously I understand not for everyone. So both times I had a seizure, I ended up in the hospital. So my stress brain was like, what if that happens again? And then you 100% get coronavirus because you're in the hospital where they're treating it. Like, there is more than one hospital in Prague, and I highly doubt that they're just taking everyone they can to the hospital where we're treating coronavirus, but that was my stress brain. So that leads me into my next thing of like, something I've really learned throughout this is to really take some time, and it is hard sometimes. It's not always fun. Sometimes it can be, but sometimes it is like really unpacking some stuff that you don't want to go through, but to like really take this time to take a deep dive into yourself, like really get in there, like journal if you want. Like, I have a journal that I write in every day, and to give you an idea, this is like, it's a standard size journal, right? It's like a normal, I don't know how many pages are in there, but like normal journal that you would buy in the store. I started this journal in February, and let me find for you. Okay, yeah, about right here. Yep. So this much of my journal, as you can see, about, oh no, more than 50%, about 75% of my journal is just from quarantine times. So I have been getting in there, journaling. I don't care what it looks like for you, but really what I'm saying is like, my main point is try and get in touch with yourself as much as possible. Try to unpack some stuff, like find out, what are my beliefs? What are my worries and fears and hopes and dreams? What makes me happy? What gives me joy? Because, leads into my next one, then you can look at your life and evaluate it and see if those things that you're saying, these are your words, what you really deeply feel. And I think you'll know that when you write it down. Of like, if you, like, for example, I literally write out the question, what brings me joy? And then I make a list. And then as I'm writing, I can feel it, I can feel it in myself. Like, this makes me genuinely happy. I really enjoy doing this. And I'm not saying to write down things like that society is telling you should feel happy about. Write down what makes you happy. Like, I don't know, like something that makes me happy is putting on a playlist of songs that I would be so embarrassed if people knew I listened to, and dancing around the flat like while I clean or something. I'm like, ooh, loving this music that nobody else likes. Like, be super honest with it, and then look at your life. Because something that I've realized, and I would say, I literally said this morning to my roommate, my very biggest fault is packing my life filled with things, like having a to-do list 25 miles long and accomplishing most of it, true, but having this to-do list that's 25 miles long and then not leaving any time for joy whatsoever. And I mean, like, literally putting things in there that I know don't make me happy. And there are obviously there are things in all of our lives that we don't really want to do, but we have to do it. Like, I'm sure all of us would be like, yeah, I'd be sick if I could just like be rich, not have to work. I could hang out with my family, my friends, grow a garden, cut hair, do makeup, whatever. I don't know, like whatever your hobbies are and passions. And I'm not saying these things to like talk down to them like, oh, no, I'm just gonna only cut hair, that's all I'm gonna do. Cutting hair is beautiful. You're giving people the confidence that they need to succeed in the world and to be happy about themselves. Like, I have the utmost respect for every career that anyone wants to do, as long as it's not hurting people, obviously. But what I'm saying is, like, if you have some ability, even just like 10 minutes, to literally schedule time for yourself, or however it looks for you. I need to do that because I'm a scheduler. I need to have a plan. So I have to literally plan out some time to just like chill out, and I will literally write out the things. Like, I have a 15-minute gap. Like, okay, I'm going to stretch. I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to do affirmations. I'm going to journal. I'm going to read, whatever it is. Obviously not all those things because it's 15 minutes, but like, write out some ideas in advance so that I can really quickly, if I only have the 15 minutes, instead of spending 10 minutes thinking about like, oh, well, I've only got 15 minutes, what should I do, what should I do, what should I do, what should I do that I never have enough time to do, and then I have 2 minutes to do it, and then 2 minutes to prepare for my next lesson. Like, that's crazy. And I have done this during quarantine, so that's why I talk about it, because I have literally done it already. I am trying to hopefully communicate in a clear way. I have done these mistakes, and here's how not to do them. So I want you to be able to learn from my mistakes. So also with the deep dive into yourself and your schedule in your life, be super kind with yourself. Like, be so kind, because if you're anything like me, and maybe you're not, which is totally fine, But either way, I just think you should be nice to yourself all the time, because for me, and for probably a lot of you guys who consider yourself high achievers, or who have had stress to be a high achiever, who have had your family, society, whoever telling you your worth is there only if you achieve, or even if you're telling yourself that, which is 100% me almost all the time. And I had not realized the extent of that until quarantine. So that's been fun, you know? But, and like I say that a bit sarcastically, honestly, because I'm actually really enjoying quarantine. Like, I have been thriving off of this in the ways that I have needed to thrive, like really gotten to know myself, but then started being nice to myself, not saying, like, I literally, here's an example, and here's why I think it's important to talk in a positive and kind and loving way to yourself. So 2 weekends ago, I want to say, it wasn't this past weekend, but the one before. And again, time isn't real anymore, so who knows when it was. But it was like 2 weekends ago. I had had a couple glasses of wine at night, and I woke up the next morning and I slept in a couple of hours. And to give you an idea, I wake up at 5 a.m. every day. But I like it. I actually like it. I like the early mornings, but I also like getting stuff done. And I have a lot of pressure that I put on myself to get things done. So I slept in by a couple of hours after, for context, having a couple of glasses of wine. I slept in for a couple of hours and then went on a 5-mile run. And do you think that at the end of that 5-mile run, I was like, hey, wow, like, self-5, way to take care of your health. No, I was not. The entire run, I was thinking to myself, I should be more motivated. Why didn't I wake up earlier? Why did I sleep in? I'm so lazy, blah, blah, blah. In the middle of a 5-mile run. And then when I got home from that run, I was like, wow, I should have had a better mindset during that run. I was like really being, you know, like kind of down on myself and like blah, blah, blah. Which, guess what? Still isn't having a positive mindset. Still isn't talking nicely to yourself. I was literally berating myself for berating myself. Like, what? It's crazy. So please be kind to yourself. And I say that in like yes, do it, but like it's really easy to, like, I'm sure if any of you have seen any podcast, blog, read book, whatever, like these inspirational things that are often like, be kind to yourself. Yeah, okay, sick. Like, you think I don't want to do that? You think I don't want to, you know, like, everyone wants to do these things, but I'm going to tell you, like, to actually try and do it, like, think of yourself. Think of things that you actively tell yourself. And what's easier for me anyways, but do you, is in the moment when I notice a negative thought. Like, let's take a look at that moment when I was talking about the run. So what I could do in the future, if I'm running, going along, and I have this thought comes into my mind, like, oh my God, you're so lazy. Like, why didn't you wake up at 5 a.m. and you woke up at 7 a.m. after having 3 glasses of wine? Like, oh my God. You know, like, I'm giving myself a really annoying negative self-talk, so maybe it will be like, wow, so annoying, you know, and like try to fight against it. So let's take that thought and instead think of like, and this is a technique that I cannot take credit for. I've been watching a lot of Hal Elrod's, or listening to rather, Hal Elrod's podcast, the Achieve Your Goals podcast. So I will link to that as well. Amazing podcast. But one of his guests was recently talking about this and talking about self-talk. And she's a doctor in neuroscience, neurophysiology, something. She's a crazy smart woman who actually has the science in this. So this is where I stole this from. Don't remember her name off the top of my head, but I will find her and put a link to her so you guys can see. She was talking about, like, okay, take that thought. Think of what you are literally saying to yourself, and then imagine the person you love the most, or just like any person you really love and care about, like a child, sibling, best friend, mom, dad, whoever that you really love and care about, and then put those thoughts onto them. Like, imagine sitting that person down and saying that to them. Like, if I were to take my sister and be like, hey, you slept in for 2 hours after drinking 3 glasses of wine, and then you ran 5 miles. That's so lazy of you. Like, why are you so lazy? And why don't you just wake up early and like not drink and like, you know, I would never do that because that's insane. I would be like, holy shit, you ran 5 miles after drinking 3 glasses of wine? Like, that's impressive. Like, look at you. Sweet. That's really cool. And so there you go, like, put that, and it's a concept that she has better science words for, the woman that I originally heard this from. But it's a concept of mirroring. So that positive connection that I have now just made, like, I would never say that to my sister because I would never even think that. That's crazy talk. Now, okay, let's apply it to yourself. So then try that actively with yourself. Then say like, wow, Megan, because I'm talking to me here. Wow, Megan, like that's really awesome that you were still able to run 5 miles after having a few glasses of wine last night. Like, cool. That's really awesome. So that means even if you don't have a few glasses of wine, like you can run it anytime. Like you don't need to be so strict on yourself and put so much pressure on yourself. You're doing it. You're taking care of your health. You're doing these things, you know, like, so practice some of that, definitely. And also try to do this to others. And going back to what I said earlier about like everyone's reality is valid. Like notice that, but like really, really notice that, you know, like I have made it my mission since quarantine has happened, and I've sort of stabilized myself a little bit to be active in looking, like really actually looking like, okay, who needs help? Trying to think of like what people could be more affected by this than I am, and how can I actively help them? Like, do I have the resources? Or if I don't, can I share this on Facebook or on social media, on wherever, and maybe someone else can help? Like, how can I, you know, like do whatever you can do. I'm not saying leave your house and like physically go to these places and do things. No, just do what makes sense to you, do what you can do. Or if you're, I don't know, if you're into religion, pray for them. Like do, you know, do whatever, write them a letter. I don't know. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is like, be more aware of humanity as well, because I've seen a bit of that and it's been so beautiful. Like people making face masks, like actually sitting down and sewing them and dropping them off in elderly neighbors' mailboxes, so they don't even have to worry about like going to find them or make them themselves, or you know, whatever. They don't even have to think about it. They just have them now, and they're just able to be safe and feel safe. Or like for me, I've started ordering from online businesses, like ordering as much of my groceries as possible from local online businesses, and doing these things like in Prague and really the Czech Republic as a whole. We also have Zachram Pivo, which is Save the Beer. So people are actively, like there's a website for it, there's social media, and people are actively trying to support local microbreweries that cannot survive during this. So understand that whatever you're going through, someone else is also going through that, and maybe even worse. So just be patient with each other and be kind and empathetic, because I think we all really, really need it right now. And 2 quick things, and then I think this video is quite long enough. I can make another one. But going back to the looking at things that bring you joy and recreating your schedule. I know that right now, I mean, I've seen it and I've fallen victim to it, and I want to make sure that I'm very clear, because I am doing a lot right now. Like I have thought of multiple different business ideas. I've done like a lot of stuff, and I'm training for a half marathon. I'm doing all this stuff, but do know that you do not have to be doing that stuff, right? Like if you look around and society's telling you, like, I'm sure you're all getting emails from every place you've ever ordered online from, like, what to do during coronavirus. And people are saying, like, do all these hobbies, do this, do that. First of all, having the free time to do hobbies rather than having to work is a privilege. So be aware of that. That is privilege. And also, even if you have this free time, like, it's your free time. It's your life. If you don't want to start a new workout routine, learn 5 languages, write a blog, do a podcast, whatever, don't. Like, just don't. It's society programming as well. And this societal programming to tell you that you are not enough. You are never going to be enough unless you are enough for yourself. So you can look at everyone else on social media and in the news and on blogs and whatever, and see that people are doing all these things and they're becoming self-actualized, like greatest versions of themselves as well, and like during this time period. And if you want that for yourself as well, go get it and find a way, and like I can help you, whatever, you know, like find things to help you do that. But if you need some time to rest, take some time to rest. Take a nap, take 5 naps, take all the naps, take every nap, because you deserve it and you're worth it. And I think we just need some time to breathe. And I know I do not schedule myself any time to breathe if I can avoid it, and it's not right, and it leads to burnout. And we deserve to be the person that has our own backs more than anyone, to just be able to look objectively. And again, it's easier said than done, obviously, but to be able to look at our lives as if we are a third person and say, hey, Megan, like, honey, girlfriend, you're doing a lot, and that's amazing, and I'm so proud of you. But how about taking a little rest, taking a nap, connecting with friends, just having a chat or watching a movie, whatever it is, coloring in the dinosaur coloring book that you've had in the drawer there. Like, that's my thing. Doesn't have to be yours, but you know what I mean? Like, just do your best, because I think we're all doing our best, but don't let that mean that your best is only your best if you achieve something, because you are a perfect human being and you're a perfect version of the light and abundance and love that is the universe without doing a single goddamn thing. So remember that, and sorry for rambling, but I needed to get this out and off my chest, and I love you all so, so, so much. So please reach out to me if you need anything whatsoever, and there might be some projects in the works that I'm doing as well, so I might be reaching out to some of you for help with those, but let's just try and support each other and support ourselves, because that's what we really need right now. Love and support. Thank you for watching. Love you all so much. Bye.